What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Hope you're doing well, feeling great, and enjoying freedom. It's a great day to have a great day. Today, I wanted to talk about both silver and gold, as well as the collapse of different types of currencies, starting with Russia's currency right now, and how that can ripple on out to other currencies, such as the US dollar. We're going to get into it, but really quick, just in case you're new, make sure to subscribe for daily videos, subscribe to my second channel for weekly videos, get yourself some DYDSS merchandise to help support the channel, come and join us in the Precious Metals VIP Club for giveaways, live streams. I'm going live tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, deal alerts, and a whole lot more. And of course, last but not least, go and get your 5 free stocks by downloading Webull and funding your account. Everything will be linked in the description. So today is Wednesday, March 2nd, 2022. The spot price of silver, as I'm filming the video, is $25.07. It's down 25 cents, or down 0.99%, down almost 1%, and it's still in the $25 range. And of course, the spot price of gold is $19.30.80. It's down $14.50, or down 0.75%. Nice red day for both precious metals. And of course, the gold to silver ratio is in the 76 to 77 to 1 range. But again, that's as I'm filming the video, not as I'm editing, posting, or as you're watching. So head on down to the comments and let me know the date and time you're viewing the video, what the current spot price is for you. I'm always curious. Okay, so first things first. Let's quickly go over some Russia and Ukraine news, because the battle continues. As we should probably all know by now, you've got to be asleep at the wheel if you didn't already know. Last week, Russia began invading Ukraine. It has been going back and forth nonstop. We have hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians fleeing the country. We have Russians swarming in, but we have thousands of them captured as prisoners of war. We have dozens, or at this point, hundreds of people who have already been killed. We have even more people that have been injured. It's completely out of control. That's not what this video is about, though. I wanted to talk about Russia's currency, because last week we learned that Biden had issued sanctions to punish Russia over this invasion. This was America's response to the attack, and the goal was to cripple Russia economically. Number one, so that they cannot grow their military or build ships or really do anything like that. But two, so they continue to feel the pain long after all of this is said and done. Russian banks that hold over $1 trillion in U.S. assets would be frozen, and Russia's ability to use the U.S. dollar and euros and yen would be cut off. The market's reaction to these sanctions led to the tanking of the Moscow Stock Exchange, where you can see on this chart right here, it has fallen over 30% in the last month alone, and a majority of that came from just last week. I believe it fell close to 30% in a day last week. Russian stocks and Russian companies have been getting brutalized over this, not to mention Russian currency. So much so that, according to Bloomberg, $83 billion worth of Russian millionaires and billionaires' wealth has been completely annihilated. So clearly, Russia's ultra-rich are beginning to feel the impact from all of this. But you want to know who's really feeling the pain right now? Just everyday Russians living their lives, because their currency is getting absolutely destroyed. You see, not only is the Moscow Stock Exchange plummeting and U.S. assets held by Russian banks being frozen, but the general state of the ruble, which is Russia's currency, is nosediving right now. I mean, just look at this graph. You can see that the ruble is currently the weakest it has ever been in history. And not only that, but a lot of Russians that are employed by U.S. companies currently aren't getting paid anymore due to the whole bank cutoff, and payments are not able to be processed right now. And right now it looks like Russia is seeing a bit of a bank run, as insanely long lines of people are waiting outside of the banks to use the ATMs. I would probably go ahead and assume that their idea is to take out their money and spend as much of it as possible on things that they need while they still can, and likely try to load up on some supplies that at the very least have a chance of holding their value. But in response to all of this, Russia has raised rates to 20% as a method of trying to protect the ruble, as their financial crisis looks like it may only just be beginning. So now, something else that I found interesting was that despite America's sanctions for Russia over all of this chaos, taking aim at their economy so they can't grow, I did a little bit of reading over the weekend, and I stumbled upon a whole list of articles. And I had learned that last year in 2021, Russia actually stated that it would be moving away from US dollar assets. See, this is where the US dollar as a currency comes into play. Russia already started moving away from our currency, and they're not the first country to do this. And they're also not going to be the last. Currently, the only thing propping up the US dollar is the fact that it's the world reserve currency. It's not backed by anything anymore. We don't make anything here in the US. If you think about it, we're really the only country that trades fake money for real goods. Everyone else trades real goods for real goods. So the only thing our currency currently has going for it is its reserve currency status. But guess what? That's being threatened. Not only by other countries trying to get away from the US dollar, but it's also being threatened by our own politicians that have a spending problem, because what's the big event taking place next year in 2023? The debt ceiling deadline. This is something that we were worried about toward the end of last year, and the can got kicked down the road. So who knows, by the time we get to the event this time around next year, God only knows. Is it going to get kicked down the road again? Maybe. I wouldn't be that surprised, but this is one of those things that, like, you can only kick the can down the road so far. All these other things that they're worried about, that they keep postponing and pushing back and pushing back and pushing back, a lot of those things don't even matter in the first place. This right here, the debt ceiling crisis, that is not something that we can screw around with. And to my understanding, we have never defaulted on our national debt. Which is why so many other countries, like Russia, for example, but countries all over the planet, trust our currency more than their own. So what were to happen if we were to default as a country, if we failed and essentially went bankrupt as a country? What would that mean for the state of the US dollar? I don't know for sure, but I would assume, I believe, that it could cause the US dollar to lose its reserve currency status. Because at that point, would other countries still have faith in our currency? Would other countries still trust the US dollar? Or would it get to the point where they start to see, oh wow, this isn't as good as it used to be? And what would happen at that point if we were to default and our currency were to lose its reserve currency status and other countries move away from the US dollar entirely? Coming around full circle, we don't do anything. We don't make anything. Fake money that we trade for real goods. But what happens when our fake money is no longer fake money, like non-existent money? What would we trade for real goods if we don't have real goods to trade? Or real currency, or fake currency? We wouldn't have anything left. See, this is how a lot of currencies become obsolete. I have something that was sent to me, something that was sent into the channel as a gift. They sent it to my P.O. box. They sent me a 10 billion Yugoslavian note. In fact, I'll grab it right now because it's right here. A 10 billion Yugoslavian note. Yugoslavian currency doesn't even exist anymore. Yugoslavia doesn't even exist anymore. Currencies become obsolete all the time. I don't remember the average lifespan of currencies, but they're not here for the long term. Currencies are not built to last. They're built to last a little while. They're built to last for a short period of time. They're just temporary. US dollar, for example. It was originally created just to simply be an IOU, which is why if you've been watching my channel for a while, you'll know that I call the US dollar a glorified debt note IOU bill. It's not backed by anything. There's no intrinsic value there. It's just a piece of paper. The only value a piece of paper has is it gives you something to write on or draw on. But guess what? There's already words and numbers and pictures all over it already. So I can't write or draw on this. It's already been written on and drawn on. So other than being useful as a piece of paper, like what else can you do with it? There's not really much you can do. And it's not backed by anything. It used to be backed by gold. At least we had that going for it for a while. But we were taken off the gold standard. Once again, that was supposed to be a temporary thing that we never went back. Here we are a couple decades later. For a while, people made the argument that the US dollar was backed by oil, which I would probably agree with. But what is it backed by now? I would say that it's backed by debt. And I've said in a recent video that I believe it's backed by debt, and I know that probably sounds funny to some people, but I'm actually not joking. I think it's actually backed by debt. And the reason people might think that's funny is because they associate debt with just all things horrible. There are a lot of people out there that are afraid of debt. There are a lot of people out there that want nothing to do with debt. But debt doesn't have to be a bad thing. In fact, debt can actually be a good thing for a lot of people. You might be wondering, how? Simple. Turn the tables. What happens when you're not the one who's in debt anymore? Now somebody else is in debt to you. Is that not a good thing? That's a fantastic thing to the people who have people that are in debt to them, because that means you have control over them. That means you have power over them. Why do you think the banks do so well? So right now, I think our currency is backed by debt. I think it's backed by the good kind of debt and the bad kind of debt. But at the end of the day, debt is debt. That's what I think that it's backed by. But is that sustainable? No. Because the debt ceiling crisis is only a year away. And eventually, we can only kick the can down the road so far. We may end up kicking the can down the road. We may. That may happen. But eventually, we're going to get to a point where we cannot keep pushing it back. We either have to pay off our national debt, or we're going to have to default for the first time in U.S. history, to my understanding. And there's a reason they keep pushing it back. Because they don't want to default. They know what would happen if we default. But point being, those are just some of my thoughts related to currency and how different currencies collapse over time. They collapse for different reasons. Hyperinflation completely obliterates a lot of different currencies out there. Look what happened in Venezuela. A lot of currencies go obsolete. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised if the CBDC, which is what the government is currently working on, a central bank digital currency, I wouldn't be surprised if that's just essentially their way of proactively setting themselves up with the next currency. Now, before the CBDC was even announced, this was years ago, back in 2018, 2019, I remember saying back then that if and when our currency is ever replaced by something else, it'll be done so subtly and slowly that no one will even really notice. And I said back then that it will be digitalized, as it kind of already is. I mean, think about it. People don't really pay with cash anymore. They use debit cards, or they use credit cards, like what I do, or they make online transactions. No physical paper currency is involved. It's just coding. It's just numbers on a computer screen being sent from one screen to another. And technically that's a payment. I said a couple of years ago that the dollar will be replaced by a digital dollar, and funny enough, it'll probably be called the dollar. That way nobody notices. If you replace something, if you replace the old with the new, but you keep the name, people that are asleep at the wheel, they don't even realize what happened. But anyway, those are just some of my thoughts on different currencies right now and the general state of our currency, and a couple of things that we need to keep an eye out for and pay very, very, very close attention to. But anyway, those are my thoughts on that. Now, finally, before we get into the silver and the gold, let's take a quick look at how the stock market is reacting to all of the craziness today. We currently have the S&P 500 up 0.64%. We have the Dow Jones up 0.77%, and we have the NASDAQ down 0.08%. So the NASDAQ is barely in the red. Everything else is kind of mildly in the green. Again, this video is being filmed early in the day, like 10:30 in the morning. God only knows what the spot price or what the stock market is going to be doing by the time this video drops around 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or actually closer to 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because remember, I'm going to be going live in the Precious Metals VIP Club at 7 p.m. tonight. And if you're in the Precious Metals VIP Club, you can watch this video pretty early in the afternoon, around 12, maybe 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time when I post all of my videos. So, link in the description for that. But that's how the stock market is reacting today. It doesn't seem to be overreacting to anything at the moment. Again, I'm filming the video early in the day. And now, finally, before we get into the silver and gold, before we get into what I actually want to talk about today, since we're on the topic of the stock market, just want to remind everybody to go and get your 5 free stocks by downloading Webull and funding your account. They'll give you 5 free random stocks just for doing so. Usually it's 2. They bumped it up to 5 just for the next couple of days. So if you've been procrastinating, now is the time to get in. And then, of course, if you refer just one friend by March 15th, they will give you 10 free stocks for the referral. And if you refer 3 friends by the end of the month, they will give you a spin on the Webull wheel, which guarantees you at least 1 free share of Apple, with the chance of winning 2, 3, 5, 7, maybe even 10 free shares of Apple. If you don't want the stocks, go and get them anyway, sell them. Congratulations, now you have a bunch of currency to go and get you some money if that's what you want to do. Webull link in the description. But now moving away from all that, moving away from Russia and Ukraine or Russian currency or our currency and the stock market, moving away from all of that, let's now talk about the silver and the gold. And actually, before I do anything, let me remove the currency from the screen so that all we're looking at is money. I don't want to offend or insult money by having some currency on the screen. Let me get rid of that little piece of paper. Let's now talk about the silver and the gold. So you can see on display, I have a nice little selection. We have some Creatures of the North over there in the corner. We have some Queen's Beasts up here at the top in the center. We have a small stack of miscellaneous coins, a Type 1, Type 2 Silver Eagle, a Maple Leaf, and a Kangaroo. We have some 1-ounce silver bars, 5-ounce silver bar, some 10-ounce silver bars. We have some 90% junk constitutional silver right over there, some Walking Liberty half dollars, some Standing Liberty quarters, and of course, a nice little stack of goldbacks, which I'm not stacking to stack necessarily. I view the goldbacks as more of an art collection than anything else. Art made out of money, I get them just because they're fun. If I'm going to stack gold, it's obviously going to be gold coins. Or I guess also bars. But anyway, when it comes to the silver and the gold, oh, and I also have this on screen, Aztec calendar round, which you can't even see. When it comes to the silver and the gold, this is one of the main reasons I'm stacking in the first place. Now, when I first got started, it was mainly just a way for me to save money in a different way, an unconventional way. See, most people, if they want to save money, they'll save it in currency, and they'll save it in either a savings account, where they're going to get that very generous 0.0001% interest, Maybe they'll put it in a checking account where they don't get any interest at all, but they can spend it whenever they feel like it. Maybe they keep a pile of cash under the bed. I don't know what they do. Point being is that most people that save money save it in currency. And unfortunately, the currency, as I explained before, is a depreciating asset. It's not going up, that's for sure. So I chose to start saving my money in silver and gold, but I started with silver. That was the main reason. For me, it was just to have a physical at-home savings account, something that, in my opinion and from my perspective, was a safer and smarter way of storing value. Now, when I had first gotten started, I liked the concept, I understood the concept, and I appreciated it so much that I said to myself, I got to get involved. This is fantastic. I want to be involved in this. I want to be a part of this. So I dove in. But as time went by, I started learning more and more and more about currency. See, I never knew a whole lot about currency. I knew that different countries have their own currencies, and I know that currency is something that we sell our time for at work every day. We sell our time, our most valuable asset, more valuable than silver and gold combined. All of the silver and all the gold on the planet combined. Our time is more valuable than that. But we sell it at work every day. And then we go and use the currency that we sold our time for to buy survival, purchase survival, to purchase a roof over our heads, to purchase food to consume, to purchase clothes to wear. It's a pretty strange system when you think about it that way, and especially when you word it as awkwardly as I just did. But point being is, I never really thought much about currency at all. It never really crossed my mind. The only thing that I ever really wondered about currency was if they can print as much as they want, why don't they just print more of it so that we don't have so many financial issues? I remember being a 6-year-old kid asking my grandpa that question. I was like, hey, if we're running out of money, why don't we just print some more? Probably the most innocent question a kid could ever ask. Little did I know that in 2020, I would find out what printing absurd amounts of currency would do. But point being is that the longer I stacked silver and gold for, the more and more confidence I would have in my decision. But also, the more and more confidence I would lose in the currency. And at this point, a little over 4 years later since I got started stacking, at this point, I really want nothing to do with the currency. I understand the importance of having an emergency fund, but I gotta be honest with you. It actually hurts my soul to have an emergency fund. I don't like having an emergency fund. Now I know if an emergency ever happens, I'll be very, very relieved. Like, oh, thank God I have this. But right now, when no emergency is going on, I hate that my currency is just sitting there doing nothing. That's currency that I could be putting into silver, gold, or an investment of some sort, so I can be generating some more currency. See, that's what I'm thinking about right now. But again, I understand the importance of having an emergency fund. Everybody should have an emergency fund in cash, whatever currency it is that you go by. Emergency funds are really important, and God forbid something were to happen, it'll be there to help me out. But other than that, other than the emergency fund, I don't really want any cash around. I try to be very, very light on cash. I keep the bare minimum in my checking account, just enough to pay for whatever it is that I need to pay for. I have $0.00 in my savings account because I don't even have one of those anymore. They closed it due to inactivity because I didn't have any currency in there, because why would I save it in there when I could save it somewhere else? I try to be very light on currency, and I'm far more drawn to the silver and the gold, as you see on display right here. I think this stuff right here stands a far better chance than the dollar bill. You want to know why? Because if and when the dollar bill goes bye-bye on us, the silver and gold's still going to be here. One could argue that the face value won't matter anymore. See how that says $1? What happens if the dollar bill becomes obsolete? What happens when dollars are no longer dollars and they're just pieces of paper that we can just write notes on or just, throw in the garbage or use to start fires if and when it gets to the point where nobody's accepting US dollars anymore? I personally don't think that's going to happen, but I'm just being extreme for the example. This says $1 on it, so what would that mean when the dollar is no longer around? Well, it wouldn't mean anything. It's just something that the coin has on it. But guess what? The coin is still the coin. It's still a troy ounce of silver. You can't take away a troy ounce of silver. You can take away the dollar bill. You can take away currency or fiat. Sure. Can't take away real, true, honest money. It's been money for thousands and thousands of years, which is why I have so much confidence in it, and which is why I'm so drawn to it, which is why I like it so much. It has history. It's real money. It's constitutionally recognized as money. It's internationally recognized as money. It's biblically recognized as money. It's real, true, honest money, and it always has been, and it always will be. Currency, on the other hand, Federal Reserve notes, fake government fiat. Does this really seem like something that we should have the utmost conviction in or maximum confidence in? You can believe in cash. You can believe in the currency, but I don't think I've ever met a person in the world that doesn't know that inflation brutalizes the dollar bill, and that saving for the long term is actually more detrimental to your financial well-being than anything else. Anyway, those are just some of my thoughts. Those are some of the things that I wanted to talk about today related to mainly the ruble, Russian currency, and how it's getting annihilated right now. Will this end up being the collapse of the ruble? Time will tell. But what I'm interested in mostly is what type of a delayed reaction or what type of an after effect this will have on other currencies. How will punishing the ruble end up affecting the US dollar? That's what I want to know. But I'm curious. Whatever you think of today's video, head on down to the comments and let me know anything and everything related to the video topic, whether it be about the ruble, whether it be about currencies in general not being built to last. What do you think of the debt ceiling crisis that we're currently going through? And of course, what are your thoughts on the silver and the gold? If you guys like today's video, please hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, subscribe to my second channel for weekly videos, get yourself some DYDSS merchandise to help support the channel in the biggest possible way. We got t-shirts, hoodies, stickers, coffee mugs in a bunch of different designs. We have the limited edition, luck has nothing to do with it, t-shirt and hoodie, only available until St. Patrick's Day. Get one while you can, and a portion of the proceeds are going to St. Baldrick's Foundation. DYDSS store will be linked in the description. Come and join us in the Precious Metals VIP Club, which is where I do giveaways every single month, live streams multiple times a week. I'll be going live tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Deal alerts on silver and gold every single day. You can watch all of my videos early and commercial free, and every Saturday morning I post a brand new adventure vlog, and there are a ton of other perks as well. I guarantee you the value exceeds the cost. VIP Club link in the description. And of course, last but certainly not least, go and get your 5 free stocks by downloading Webull and funding your account. They're going to give you 5 free random stocks just for doing so. Normally it's 2, right now it's 5 just for the next couple of days, so capitalize on that while you can. And if you refer just one friend by March 15th, they're going to give you 10 free random stocks for the referral. Big promo. And then, of course, if you refer 3 friends before the end of the month, they will give you a spin on the spin wheel, which guarantees you at least 1 free share of Apple, maybe 2, 3, 5, 7, or even 10 free shares of Apple. These are some big promos going on right now. Don't pass up on an opportunity. Webull link in the description. And of course, I want you guys to head on down to the comments and let me know once again, what are your thoughts on everything shared in today's video? When it comes to the general concept of currencies collapsing. We've seen it happen time and time and time again. A lot of currencies collapse. Happens all the time. What are your thoughts on the ruble? Do you believe that this is the beginning of the end for the ruble? Why or why not? And of course, do you think that this is going to have a delayed reaction or an after effect to the US dollar? I know the sanctions set for Russia are intended to punish them economically. Do you think that's going to turn around and bite us economically? And then, of course, when it comes to the silver and the gold, what are your thoughts on everything that I shared in today's video, being that it's real, true, honest money, and some of the reasons I listed off as to why I'm far more confident in the precious metals than I am in any type of currency? Head on down to the comments and let me know anything and everything related to today's video topic. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you tomorrow. Don't you dare stop smiling. Peace.